Hey guys, welcome. Today we are going to be doing a pen and ink with a gouache underlay. Alright, what's the subject? A samurai. So let's get into this. Now, as we get started, we plan our drawing first. By doing so, what we do is we start in probably a sketchbook of some sort or scrap paper or something of that nature. I like using sketchbooks myself. This way we have an idea and an understanding of layout, design, and what we're looking for. Now, as we approach this next step, we're going to go through very similar steps as to the final drawing. We're going to start with an underlay drawing and then sketch over that underlay drawing. And then move to, if we're going to be doing inking, we'll use the ink as well to give us a really clear idea if this is the correct path. It seems like extra work, but it's going to benefit in the long run by adding the ability to clearly see proportions and see any issues that you need to refine. And this also gives us a reference, a way to look back at what we need to do to accomplish our final goal. Now, what you see me here doing is preparing the piece of art, the final piece of artwork. What I like doing is start on a piece of paper that's larger than what the final respect will be. And then after that, we do some more planning. As you can see here, I'm in Photoshop, and we're actually going through and drawing guidelines. These guidelines are going to help me determine proportions. It's going to actually speed up the process. Ultimately, at the end of the day, these files will end up being throwaways. Now back to the final drawing. As you can see, I'm starting in with the blue pencil, drawing my guidelines, my reference points, my beginning sketch, first you could say. And as I move to an HB pencil, it's a lead that's not too harsh, so and it's not too soft. So it's actually fairly easy to erase with. And meanwhile, I'm constantly referring back to my reference drawings and my reference sketch and my reference points as I work along. And you can see up in the upper top there that I made a small reference sketch to help me guide my way through things. And you'll as well see me pull out my little sketchbook, go back, do a few little things there to determine what I need to do as to the next step. Now I'm going to start here, as you can see, working on my basic ink. inking. And as I work along, I erase and get things go out of my way. When I've come across parts that I missed, I go back in with a pencil, and then I draw my ink lines. Now we get to determine our coloring. It's going to be important. As you see, I'm working within my sketchbook again to look for the right red that I want, the right yellows, the right pinks or purples, or whatever color may be the case. This is actually important because without this reference point, without these colors, you could get it all off and it won't look right. And you'd be starting completely over from scratch at this point. This is why the extra space on the material also helps. As you can see, I'm testing my colors and if I have the right liquid to it. One thing, don't be afraid to go back in with your pen, your pencils, after the fact that you've started the painting process. And in fact, I purposely didn't completely color everything in with the pen until after I started coloring. Now I went into Illustrator because this is a special little touch that I'm adding here. I'm taking the text from the Japanese language that refers to samurai, and we're going to be placing it on the mat itself. We're going to be taking a little bit of a different approach. So in Illustrator, you can do this in, I think it's Inkscape as well, which is a free version of, or a free vector program, I should say. Now what's going on here is I'm prepping and planning my placement and scale, because that's going to be really important here. The reason why I need that to be correct is when I place it down, remember, I don't speak or write this language. So it's going to be very important that I get the symbols correct though. Now I'll end up printing this out and we'll be prepping it. The way I'm going to prep is actually cut the letters out and use it as a stencil. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to find my X-Acto knife, so I'm working with a box cutter. Sometimes you just have to use what you have on hand. always use a ruler when you're doing that kind of cutting. And make sure that ruler is protecting the stuff you're keeping. As you see, I'm looking to get the correct placement, and everything is planned correctly, so everything looks right. We don't want this off-centered unless it was going to be intentional. So my goal was to put it in the center towards the bottom, and that's what I'm working towards. As I remove it, I'm going to redraw it out a little bit so I have a nice crisp lines on the final. I'm going to move right over to inking. Not going to worry about erasing because I didn't want to damage the mat itself. Now placement, the artwork in the mat. You gotta be a little careful. You gotta make sure that you get it centered properly. You only have the horizontal, but you also have the vertical. You have to be concerned over here. And the other thing you need to be is concerned over how you're gonna mount it. I decided to use little corner pieces to help protect the material because I don't have any archival tape at the moment. Making corner pieces are pretty straightforward. You just fold little tabs at 45-degree angles, and then you nip off the excess. Now, as you see, I am lining my placement up and inserting my tabs and then adhering the tabs down with some tape. Now I'm doing a little bit of cleanup on the tabs to get rid of the excess, so that's not shown in the final piece. You don't want them interfering with the final result. Alright, buddy, on that note, I'm going to call it a night. Remember to subscribe, hit the bell icon, do all that fancy stuff. Leave a comment, suggestions, anything of that nature. I'll catch you in the next one. Don't forget to like the video. See you later.